and it was decided that perhaps we should welcome back some people who've been out in the trenches to tell us a little bit what it's like to have moved from the Kline School environment to what one might term the real world. I'd like to introduce this panel to you, this group of former Kline Schoolers. I'm going to start with the oldest person in the group. Taylor Prairie actually joined us in 1986, and we opened in 1985. And Taylor was actually wears a badge of honor. You might not know that, but he was student number 3. Okay, I thought when I hung a sign that there would be this overwhelming number of people, but as Taylor knows, we had more rats than we had students. Anyway, Taylor did a full term with us and went on to college and so forth, and we have questions later that might address those things. The second person, the second runner-up here, would be Greta Ridley, Greta Jean. Greta Jean used to live just a few doors away, and she started actually at Mariners, and she would walk by it. You know, she was 5 years old, and she had these little pigtails, and I used to see her, you know, making her way to Mariners, and her mom one day stopped in and wanted to figure out a way where her daughter could come to school here, and we figured out a way, and Greta Jean also did a term here. And then moving along, we have 2 students who, Janet joined us in '93, and Buddy joined us in '97. So Buddy had a long-term in public school, and Jana really didn't have any experience other than Kline School. And Jana will, I'm sure, have some things to talk about that will reflect that experience. And then last year we lost Sean Marshall and Andy Morris to high school, and Sean started when he was about 4.5 or 5, and he could have done a bonus year, but being that we put a lot of pressure on him, he's a young high schooler now. And Andy Morris joined us, I think, after he did a little time in public school, and I suppose the only thing that I guess I regret is that when I tried to do everything technologically with this panel, Andy's no longer on the computer. But anyway, it just has something to do with the pressures of other classes and so forth. Okay, I'm going to start with, I gave the panel a series of 12 questions that the staff and I wrote up, and because we wanted to elicit certain things for you to hear about. And the good news is, when everyone responded and told me which five questions they would like to answer, we really have a cross-section of interests. And so I'm going to start with Sean and Taylor on this first question. Some people think Kline School is too small, and that attendance at such a small school leaves children unprepared for the real world. Did the intimate environment created at Kline leave you so isolated and sheltered that you felt you were at a disadvantage when you transitioned to a larger school? And I think I'll start with Sean.
I feel it actually gave me a better understanding of the basics being in such a small school. It with less children in the classrooms, it gave more one-on-one with the teacher, and just gave me a foundation.
I agree with Sean in that fact that the school is real sheltered, but it also lets the teachers know who you are as a student, and they can identify with the student and find out what makes that student learn better and work with that child to that advantage. And I found entering high school that the school does shelter you, but it shelters you in a good way. I mean, it keeps you away from a lot of the inappropriate behavior that children shouldn't be involved in at such a young age. So I don't think in any way that it disrupted my development as a child.
Kline School offers its students a host of unique experiences. Did you ever find yourself talking about a learning activity or experience you had at Kline that people just couldn't believe?
I'm going to just on mine. It'd have to be the shortwave radio club when we got to speak to the Space Shuttle Columbia. that's one experience that I've talked about a number of times. My mom has spoken about it more often than I have, actually. And one that I don't think she brings up quite as often as I do is our eclipse parties, when we used to have, I remember one where we had swimming pools set up out in this area so that we could view the eclipse safely, and I don't remember the Loop's mom, what her name was, Mrs. Loop. She brought in, Laura. She brought in a huge telescope for us to look through, and that was really exciting.
I'd have to say the computers on every desk, at least in the upper classes. Like, I have a communications class where you have them in your desk, but that's only one class out of all my 6. And I told my teacher that, and she's like, you had computers on every desk of every class that your entire 7th and 8th grade years? I'm like, yeah. Also, the show timers things. I was talking to someone and they said that their school did like these really boring plays, and I said, oh yeah, well mine sang like Pink Floyd songs. They're like, whoa.
Academically, it's very, very useful to be able to type at around 70 words per minute when you're in a school setting, because if you have, say, in-class essays where they want you to go in and to the computer lab and type an essay in half an hour, then you use your language arts skills and you use your typing skills. And then I see the people who are sitting there going like tap, 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 and then I'm just going there whirring away at the keyboard, and it makes me really grateful for the experiences I had, just all the practice every single day for all my middle school career, and before that, because we had the computers in the multi-purpose room and that sort of thing. And also personally, I work at a veterinarian's office, so I have to be able to type very fast for data entry, and it just comes in so handy. It's great.
Your K-8 experience at Kline promised no more than 15 children in a classroom. What recommendations and justifications would you make to state board officials regarding class size and its impact on learning?
I would definitely recommend reducing class size, especially in the younger years. I know a lot of people who in elementary school, they just got left out, and they were just super smart people, but they never got to take advantage of it. One advantage of being here is that they find out what your abilities are and they exploit them. Like, if and for instance, if you have an special ability in math, then they'll push you and they'll make sure that you are achieving all that you can achieve. And if they sense you're kind of dragging, I remember I was in I was in a normal math class, and they saw that it was so easy for me, so they're like, okay, we're moving you to algebra. And this was in maybe 6th or 7th grade, and where a lot of people I know in high school are taking algebra their freshman year of high school and then only completing algebra 2 their senior year. And that's just sad, because you need calculus in order to succeed most of the time, and colleges require that you take calculus. And so I just enjoyed having all of that personal attention, and I would want them to reduce class size in every setting, including high school and elementary school.
At Kline, we believe young people learn more about such important holidays as Veterans Day and Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday by attending school rather than having the day off to goof off. Since graduating from Kline, you more than likely attend or attended schools that are closed on these days. How do you celebrate these holidays now? Sean, you can be on.
I sleep, or I goof off.
And you can pass that to Sean.
Same.
I thought it was a great advantage to be able to know why this is a holiday, whether it was Veterans Day or Martin Luther King's Day, and to see the video of Martin Luther King's speech and to know the history behind that. And then Susan also did February with Black History Month, and not that many people know February is Black History Month, and just those little details that just make it you just appreciate what goes on a lot more because you know what the holidays for.
I guess the holidays that we get off in high school, they are just opportunities for students to goof off, but when I was here, there was something important. There was something where you learn. And even in my history classes during freshman and sophomore year, I was at an advantage because I knew what they were talking about when our teachers say, okay, so you know tomorrow's Martin Luther King Day, do you know what that's about? And I could actually know what it was about rather than blankly staring at the teacher with no clue.
Open this panel up to you, and if you had any particular questions that you'd like to ask of our guests, I can, Mr. Miller?
What was the fact that most of the kids in your neighborhood went to school together and spent a lot of time together, and you probably didn't have many classmates living near you, a problem?
Looking back, I originally started elementary school at Mariners, and I was discouraged that I wasn't going to school with my friends, but I still saw them after school and hung out with them up until, I believe I went to high school, and then you make your own friends. But when Kline School moved to Costa Mesa, there was people in the neighborhood that I was friends with that lived down the street as well, so no, not at all. Does anyone else?
Was high school easier than you expected?
It was hard. I mean, the classes, it wasn't really the academic part of it, it was the busy work that was just absurd. They give you so much busy work, but a lot of it is rote memorization, whereas here they make sure you have a basic understanding of the material before they give you any memorizing all the presidents from 1776 to 1800. And I just like the way we learned here better than the way they are teaching it to us in public school.
Yeah, high school is very different than I thought it was going to be. I knew it was going to be hard, but it's hard in a very different way than I was expecting because I understand everything because Kline prepared me to understand, but doing the work is kind of difficult because there's a lot of homework. Here at Kline, it was mostly if you understood it and if you could do good on a test on it. But in high school, it's just how long you feel like typing up an essay. It's endurance, quality over quantity here at Kline.
Well, I'd like to thank you all very, very much.